Anna
So
Victoria, I'm going to turn it over to you now, okay?
Okay, cool. So all of those forms are pretty straightforward. We have them as PDFs and Word documents, some of them. And you can print them and mail them to us. You can also just snap a photo from your phone and email it to us, whatever is easiest for you. We just need to be able to clearly see it. And if you need any of those forms, then you can go ahead and send it to us. So there's a question that says, do you need us to fill out the paperwork annually? It depends on certain things, like we need the CPC and the approved source expire. If you have something like a Mendocino Renegade certification, that expires. So anything that expires, we do need the updated version. But things like the membership agreement, the page 4 of the producer how-to guide, which I don't think we went over, but it's essentially just, you know, business, says your business name, how your farming practices. That's for your producer profile page we'll talk about when we do local food marketplace. Those things, we just need them once, and the W-9, we just need it once. Yeah, what about the W-9? The only reason we would need a new W-9 is if things changed, like the people that are getting paid, the names are different, or your address changed or anything like that. The only thing we need annually, like Kelly is saying, thank you, Kelly, is your CPC and your approved source and any sort of certifications that expire. So I also want to share the certifications that those are optional. It's not a required thing, but it's helpful. So in Mendocino County, we have Mendocino Renegade. In Marin, they have the MOCA certification. Any of those certs are definitely welcome. Same with CCOF. They recertify every year. They don't technically expire, but we'll happily take them. Other optional things that are very, very helpful for us are just anything about your farm, like photos of your farm itself, the things you grow, any descriptions about your growing practices. That really helps with the sales portion, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And we'll also talk about the producer profile page later, where we put that information. Are there any other questions about paperwork, or we want to move on from there? We put that first because we need that stuff now. I guess the one last thing I will share is that if you have outstanding paperwork with us, this coming Friday is our hard deadline. We've already extended the deadline 3 times because it's just wild times right now. We do understand that things like the CPC are hard to come by right now with the county. But if we don't have the paperwork by Friday, we cannot list your items on the Food Hub. So if you have questions about like, hey, do I have that thing on file? Feel free to email us, call us. We'd love to get that stuff taken care of. Especially something like your CPC. We have a lot of farmers that are like, it's in process. The county's moving pretty slow. So we're willing to work with you, but we do need to have some sort of communication and have those things on file by this coming Friday. That is the 8th, Friday the 8th. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, Kelly's got some helpful notes in the chat box. It just says you only have to fill out your W-9 producer membership agreement when you sign up. Yeah, so any specific questions, Irene will send you a message. I think you are in as well. Yes, oh, that's a great question, Kathy, thank you. The question is, do we need all pages of the CPC? Yes, would be awesome. I know sometimes they're like 13 pages long or more. But part of the reason why we love having the CPC is it helps us to see what you're growing. And there's certain times where schools call us, for example, or restaurants call us, and we just go through files and see what's on people's CPC, and then we could call them and see if we can order those items from you in the future. So yes, all pages of the CPC are lovely, and I guess we could say required to have. Okay, so we're going to move on to this little portion called How Does the Food Hub Work? And it's like, who are the Food Hub customers, a little bit more about nodes. Kelly's going to talk a little bit about farmer payments because she's the happy one that gets to write checks to you all, which is exciting part of us, part of what we do. But I want to really quickly just talk about some of our partners. So Kelly already mentioned that we're fiscally sponsored by NCO. And so they're one of our partners, and we'll have various projects that we do with them. But if you hear about NCO, that's our partners. Other partners that we have are MCP, Mendocino Coast Produce. They are our freight partners on the coast. It's actually pretty expensive to have employees that drive all around the county, especially a county as large as Mendocino and Lake counties. So MCP makes it possible for us to get to the coast. And if you ever hear us talk about MCP, that's who they are. Josh and the fam help us out over there on the coast. Other partners are Feed Sonoma and Cape Valley, other food hubs in our greater bioregion. So Feed Sonoma, we actually list items from their farms. Sometimes you'll see some farms from Sonoma County on the food hub page, especially in the winter months when some of our farmers don't have as much produce or are selling more at farmers markets. We partner with Feed Sonoma and list things. If you've ever seen things like citrus, like grapefruit and tangerines and early asparagus and early strawberries, that's usually coming from our partners over at Cape Valley. And we're so grateful to have that variety. We work really closely with Tracy and Tim, and we're really excited about the fact that we have this greater region of 3 food hubs that are all working together. And if you want more details about Cape Valley Feed Shop or Feed Sonoma, you can just reach out. But again, this is kind of as detailed as you want it or moving forward, so we can get back to our gardens and farms today. So one of the things I wanted to touch base about is our nodes. So our nodes are our aggregation sites, and essentially they're spread all around the county. We have one in Upper Lake, Sealy, Orchard, Farm Stand. We have one on the coast at Fortunate Farms. I see a couple people from Fortunate Farms. Thank you very much. And then we have one in Ukiah. We have one in Willits and one in Boonville. And basically they're aggregation points, refrigerated, converted storage units. And they are aggregation points because our county is so widespread, and then our drivers go and pick up. So there's various times. If you're not sure where your drop-off location is or the time, let me know. It's in your producer how-to guide, and we can email that to you. Oh, it looks like Kelly's doing the great thing. Yay, thank you, Kelly, sharing her screen. So a couple things to note about the nodes is the food hub is for farmers, by farmers, and we really encourage farmers to communicate with us. So if you notice that like the AC unit, the cool bot is acting really funky, like you're like, oh, the cold room is 42 degrees, it should be 38. Send us a quick text. We'd love to get that fixed as soon as possible. If you're noticing like, if, you know, the node could use a little bit of a cleaning, definitely reach out to us. We really rely on your eyes and ears. Some things take a little bit longer for various reasons. I know we're working on all sorts of repairs on a couple of our nodes. And actually the Willits node currently has no power, and we're working on trying to find another facility in Willits, which we're hoping by next week we will have, to have refrigeration as the summer heat comes in. When you go in, if you have an extra second, which I know sometimes it feels like you don't, but if you have an extra second, it's so helpful for us, for farmers to do temperature logs. There's binders in every one of the nodes, and it's a really quick, just jot down the cold room is 38 degrees, the cool room is 40 degrees, and your initials and date. It really helps us to have a log. So if there's an issue with the AC or the cool bot, then we can kind of like pinpoint when it started and try to get repairs taken care of. Oh, and a very important part of it is that there are 2 sides in the nodes. So one side will be labeled for the coast and one side will be labeled for inland. And it's so important that you take a look at your pick list, which we'll go over a little bit later when we're talking about local food marketplace, and make sure that you know where your customer is located. This is particularly important for the coast side because MCP, our freight partners, will only take the items that are on the coast side. So if you accidentally just place your order on the inland side, MCP won't take it, and then we can't pay you for it because the customer never received it, or we'll work that out. But it's really important that you keep an eye on that pick list and make sure that you put your labeled produce on the right shelf. Kelly, do you have anything else to add about the nodes?
I would like to just quickly jump in with our COVID-19 procedures about the nodes. I'm going to do a quick screen share here. Hold on one second. I want to screen share we have a little bit different procedure now with COVID-19. You probably have noticed a bunch of yellow signs with new procedures if you've been to the nodes at all. We do now have a porta potty at the Ukiah node. So if you need to use the restroom or wash your hands, please feel free to do so. There is a key for the porta potty inside the Ukiah node. We also have a hand washing station. You must wash your hands before entering the Ukiah node. We do ask that you wear a mask before entering the node, as well as gloves if you will be touching any produce. If you're just dropping off a box, you don't have to, but we'd like you to. We do provide gloves and masks at the node. Please note only 2 people are allowed in the node at any time, and we ask that you respect the 6-foot distance between all people at all times. If you do not feel well or sick, please do not enter the node. And please help us keep keep everything clean, as we are being asked to sanitize high-touch services, clean and sanitize high-touch services more frequently. We have both cleaner and sanitizer in the node, along with a plentiful supply of paper towels. So please just take a second, wipe things down. Your neighbors will appreciate it.
I want to quickly, this is Anna Victoria, and I want to hop in to answer Irene's question, because I think this is a great question for anyone in Willits and Ukiah, which is where are you thinking of putting the Willits node? So the temporary solution right now is the Willits Grange. We are waiting on approval on that, where we've been moving on it for a few weeks now. And the key thing is that we really want to get refrigeration going for food safety reasons and other obvious reasons. Willits Grange also has sinks and is closed. And so we can do sanitation protocols, making sure that we have a hand washing area and of course, refrigeration. So that's in progress. We still, hopefully within a week, we'll have the final answer on that. The long-term goal and plan, which we've talked about at length with a group of people that everyone is welcome. There's open meetings. Kelly, I'm spacing on what we're calling the advisory committee. You can call into these meetings. Basically, we talk about what's going on with the food hub. Once a month is what we used to do. We're doing once every 2 months, just currently with the online protocols, and we'll send emails to everybody because everyone's invited. But the long-term goal is to combine both the Ukiah and the Willits node at the top of the grade inland. There's a long list of reasons why we want to do this, and we've discussed it at length. And if people want to talk more about it, we are definitely willing to do that now, or we can discuss one-on-one. I don't know if there's like a show of hands or. Okay, so if you have any specific questions as to why that's happening or anything like that, just reach out to us. Thank you. Okay, Irene, I will reach out to you. It's the top of the grade, like the White Deer Lodge Fiesta Mexicana, so not quite going all the way there. But I'll reach out to you a little bit later. Kelly, do you want to touch base about farmer payments, when they are? How that works?
Sure. Farmer payments. So farmer payments are, so how farmer payments work. So farmers are paid, so back up before farmer payments. So when you list items on the food hub, the price you list your item for is the price that you will be paid. The food hub puts our percentage on top. Obviously, schools are charged a different price than fancy restaurants on the coast. How we pay is based off of your pick ticket. So the 2 weeks after a cycle, I pull the orders and the pick tickets and make sure that they match. So making sure that everyone got whatever they needed, or if something didn't get delivered, just kind of making sure that everything washed out and we got everything sorted. I then process the payments, put in the check request with the NCO accounting department, and then I do that on a Monday, and then checks are mailed by a Friday. So most farmers receive their checks 3 weeks after the sale. There have been some random weird items with remote mailboxes getting tampered with or payments being lost in the mail. So if you don't see that check 3 weeks after a sale, just send me an email, give me a call, ask what's happening, and we'll track it down for you. But it is really a pretty smooth system on our end, and we will work with you if you have any questions. But if you're unsure about something, always check your pick ticket, because that's what we pay you from.
Sorry, I forgot where the unmute button is. Thank you, Kelly. And as Kelly mentioned, it's super important that you fill out your W-9 how you want your checks to come to you. And if you need to update anything, just reach out. We can always update your W-9 with accounting. It's pretty easy on our end. Okay, so we want to talk about how you can contact the Food Hub. So we have a communication policy that was born a little bit out of necessity. For a long time, most Food Hub employees were available kind of around the clock, and it just became, I'll just say, frankly, unsustainable. Some of our Food Hub employees were getting phone calls at like 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, and it just wasn't working. So the first policy that we like to share is that no Food Hub employee is expected to answer their personal phone about Food Hub business. It's just a boundary we have to set to be able to be sustainable, be here, and be available to everybody. That's not to say that we won't answer. We might if we're feeling inspired. And we know that emergencies happen, and what we're going to try to do, what we try to do at the Food Hub, is to set everything up with really clear kind of situations so that if something happens and you can't reach out to someone, you kind of know what to do and can leave us a message. We have an office phone number that we have been checking remotely. Kelly has been coming into the office and has been our anchor, answering all the phone calls, and most of us are working remotely. So I'm super grateful to Kelly for doing that. It's no shortage of phone calls, especially when we first started doing retail sales. It was a lot. So there's the Food Hub phone line. There's our general inbox, which actually is the preferred method to reach out to us, especially because we're working remotely. It's a great way for all of us to be in touch. And actually, I'm saying all of us, and I realize we didn't actually, I might have missed this, Kelly, if you already did this, sorry, but I want to acknowledge that Kelly and I are on this call now, but we also have Rachel Lassi as part of the team. Caroline Radice and Mark Schwass is our driver that we joke is like the glue that holds us together, because he's the one that gets the food to everybody. And Rachel has been helping with driving as well. So we're a team, really small team of 5. We all basically work part-time. And the online sending us an email is a great way to reach out to us, because we all have access to that email, and somebody will follow up with you. It can take a few days, so your patience is definitely appreciated. A new-ish thing that we have is an app or a system called Remind. So Remind is actually an app that was developed for schools, and it was developed as a way for principals and teachers to communicate with students and parents without having personal cell phone numbers go out. And so it's really easy to sign up. If you look at the screen sharing that Kelly has up right now, it tells you how to do it. You don't actually have to even download the app. We have people with flip phones that use it. This is on your membership agreement, and if you need another copy, let us know, or if you need us to walk you through setting that up, let us know. You can also just text this ML Farms to this phone number 81010. Again, we can do that for you. You can just call the office and we can get you set up. And essentially all it is this a way for us to chat with you. And it's really easy, a text message. It's a really quick way to connect with us. Again, all of us have access to that, so it's a safe way to connect with us. If you don't text and you only do phone calls, we totally understand that, and we can do phone calls and emails as well. Remind, I would say, is probably the quickest way to get a response, followed by email and then phone call, just during this remote work time. Would you agree that that's true, Kelly?
Yeah, and I just want to put out there is that right now is a really chaotic time, and how we did business before at the Food Hub is not necessarily how we're doing business right now. We're all the people who work at the Food Hub, we are part-time employees, and we all have very differing schedules, and we're all working pretty much remotely. So whereas before you could just call the office, someone would pick up the phone, you could chat with us, and we could take care of your problem right then. If you call the office now, the chances are no one will pick up. So please bear with us, because we're having to adapt to life in shelter in place. Really, the best way to get a hold of us right now is email or remind. Um, we will get back to you. It's just going to take us a little longer because one of us is on Ridgewood Ranch and one of us is in Ukiah and one of us, we're scattered over the county. And we're also seeing our business has doubled and tripled, but our labor hasn't. So we're doing our best. We will take care of you, but please bear with us.
All right, yes. Okay, cool. Any questions about the communication policy or signing up for that text app or anything like that? You can also send photos. So there's some people that sent pictures of their paperwork via Remind, and that works too. That's actually also how we communicate with a lot of our buyers. And one of the things that Rachel and I try to do is to remind farmers, we send like a group message out to everybody that says like, if the sales cycle's open, time to list your products. And we'll talk about order periods in a little bit. But it's an easy way for us, the Food Hub, to communicate with everybody via text quickly. Yeah, so that's communication. So let's see, do a quick time check. Oh, we're doing pretty good. We're going to talk about who are the Food Hub customers and how do I pack, market, / sell to them. So this question is funny because we came up with this agenda before shelter in place happened. So the customers that were Food Hub customers in February and March and even are completely different than who we have currently. So I'm going to quickly speak to who our customers were and who our customers are, and then we're going to try to look at a crystal ball and see who customers will be. So who our customers were: Food Hub was a wholesale distribution, not only to restaurants and grocery stores, but also to caterers, and schools is a really big one. We actually get a lot of local food in our schools, and that's why the schools have, like Kelly mentioned, the lowest markup, because we try to subsidize getting produce to the schools. We do it via support with grants and forward contracts with certain farmers. So those were our customers, and they were buying 25-pound cases of beets, cases of things, 36-pound cases of apples, all sorts of things. So really large cases is how we used to deliver. Shelter in place happens and the Food Hub comes together and we have this meeting and we're like, all right, let's try to figure out how we can get food to people, because we knew the grocery stores were going to close. We were unsure when it first started if restaurants were going to close. It was still, at that time, restaurants were maybe limiting the number of people coming in. That quickly changed about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. But we wanted to get local food to our community. So we opened it up. We were like, let's just try it. And the first few weeks, we were really encouraging buyers clubs specifically. So still ordering cases, 25-pound cases of beets, large cases of lettuce, 12 bunches of cilantro, trying to get that going, and encouraging buyers clubs. And a few buyers clubs popped up in certain areas where one person basically would just kind of take charge of ordering all these items and divvying it out. As the weeks progressed, we were getting word from a lot of our customers that they just were not comfortable. They just weren't as comfortable doing this sort of like multiple hands touching produce situation. And more people wanted to just order individually for their families. So Kelly, being the amazing Kelly, did a lot of quick math to try to figure out what are some order minimums for like the Ukiah and Willits area immediately to get produce out there. We came up with some numbers, we figured out our costs, and then we started requesting certain farmers to list things in smaller bunches. So you might see that certain farmers are listing like 3 bunches of radishes, 3 bunches of kale. And people were pumped. People started buying those. And one of the things that we also encourage farmers to do, and we do encourage farmers to do, is if you have many different items on your farm, you have radishes, you have greens, you have some green garlic, anything like that, to kind of build this like mixed produce case. So we have a handful of farms that do that. And then because a lot of our clients or our customers just kind of wanted almost like a CSA share, they wanted their version of that, we started partnering with Feed Sonoma. I'm hearing an echo. Let's see. If somebody, I think somebody needs to mute. I'm hearing like a really intense echo. Anyway, we started partnering with Feed Sonoma, and they offer what they call the feed bin. And it's basically a multi-farm produce box. And we are working, and I promise you, we've been working, not a day has gone by that we're not working on making a MendoLake version of this, but there's so much coordination with transportation, packaging, and delivery that it's just taking a while, and we're sort of at the cusp of making it happen. So in our ideal situation, what we're doing is offering a Mendocino and Lake County multi-farm box. We're not quite there yet. We're super close. And so the feed bin, the multi-farm box from Feed Sonoma, our friends down in Sonoma County, has been invaluable because a lot of people are getting that. And then they'll add on a dozen eggs, they'll add on bread, they'll add on a couple bunches of radishes. And then we're just doing home delivery. And there was a wild week, the period after Easter weekend. We took the time off to kind of regroup and refocus, and we had the largest sales we've ever had. And poor Mark worked like a 13-hour shift delivering 80 orders all over the county. Things have definitely slowed down. So what I wanted to say is the retail market, more and more people we're finding are kind of feeling that energy of like going back into their lives as we're hearing all around. Certain areas are starting to open up again. Customers are, I think our closest guess is that people really miss socializing and going to grocery stores and getting that energy. And the other thing too is that a lot of customers in the first few weeks were buying 25-pound bags of rice, 3 pounds of honey, large amounts of things that they were putting away, and that it takes a long time to eat 25 pounds of rice. Or if you've ordered a case of radishes and lacto fermented them, you're going to be good for a while. So we've kind of gone, we started at this sort of steady, like, okay, we're growing. And then there was this really intense peak mid-April, and it's sort of tapered, and every week it's sort of tapering. We at the Food Hub, again, it's like a crystal ball situation, which farm produce sales kind of always is. But we're at a point now where we do think that there's going to be a little bit of a taper, and then it's going to go up again. We've been talking to a lot of our individual families anytime we talk to them on the phone and ask, after shelter in place is over, is this a service you'd like to continue? And it's a resounding yes across the board. So we're very hopeful for a multi-farm box and a home delivery program. We are starting to talk to our wholesale customers again. Some of the the schools closed. So although they were offering school lunches at a lot of the schools, because of strict federal guidelines, they were basically not allowed to process anything. So no apples, no strawberries, no peas, nothing that they had to grab and put in bags. And so a lot of the school lunches were just prepackaged food, prepackaged processed food. And that's kind of loosened a little bit. We're starting to get apples at some of the schools again. We're trying everything we can to get fresh produce to the schools. In terms of our wholesale markets, like grocery stores, they're extremely price sensitive right now. They usually are in general because there's they have to worry about their markup. But right now there definitely seems to be a hypersensitivity to price where, I'm imagining that they're paying more for personnel, lots more time cleaning, lots more time just like making sure the store is stocked. I've also talked to like Matthew at Mariposa Market, and he's like, it's basically like he needs like staples, things that some of they're not in season right now. He wants garlic, he wants potatoes, he wants onions, and he's buying those through large, like veritable vegetables or Earl's Organics. So it's like an interesting time where we're connecting with retail customers, which I call them retail, but that's because I used to work retail forever. We're connecting with families and buyers clubs. And then our grocery stores and restaurants are starting to kind of pick up again. We spoke to a few restaurants and they're just like, we don't know if we're going to open again. We don't know when we're going to open. Some of our restaurants are toying with the idea of doing to go. but it's a little bit tricky and they need their own structuring for that and personnel. So I know I'm not giving a lot of answers here, but I will say right now, the main thing that we're finding that is exciting for our customers are families that are looking for smaller quantities. So yeah, like I've already mentioned this a bunch of times, 3 bunches of radish, 2 bunches of kale, things like that. We know that that's not ideal for everybody. So one thing that the Food Hub has done is we've bought in whole cases from certain farms, and then we've taken it upon ourselves to break down the cases. It's not ideal on our end because it takes a lot of personnel to do that and time and packaging, but we will do that because we're trying to get your food to local community members. And again, those mixed farm boxes, if you have those and you want to learn more about what that looks like, definitely just feel free to reach out. One thing that I will say is many of our producers are really used to doing like wholesale pricing, right? We were a wholesale channel for a very long time, but I want to encourage you all, if you are open to offering like 1 pound of asparagus, like Deer Meadow did recently, or like the last cycle, or 2 bunches of kale, really think about your pricing, because the price that you list is what you're going to get. So the example I'll give is Yokayo Roots Farm. I think Macy's here, who's done an amazing job of actually doing retail prices to customers. It does take you, we want to encourage you to remember, producers, that it takes you extra time to package smaller things, right? Instead of doing 1 case of 24 bunches of radishes, if you're doing 3 bunch bags, that's more material and time. So definitely consider the price difference there. And again, when we go over local food marketplace, I'll show you how to do different tiers of pricing. But I hope that that makes sense. And I'm sure maybe Kelly, you can hop in to talk a little bit more about who our customers are.
Yeah, I think one of the things when we're talking about our changing customer base is that we want to be optimistic in that sales really have been quite good. Before the shelter in place order, a sales cycle. So we have 2 sales cycles a week. For people who are new to the Food Hub, we kind of jumped over that. We have people can order on Sunday, and then get their orders on Tuesday, and then we have sales open for sales on Wednesday and get their orders on Friday. One sales cycle before shelter in place, we'd have a sales cycle of $1,600. Our highest sales day under shelter in place was over $9,000. It's now around, our last sales cycle is around $4,000. That's still amazingly well for this time of year. So there's we're seeing a lot of demand for local food. If you look on, if you go to the grocery store, there is no rice, there's no beans. It's really hard to get eggs. Depending on when you go, there might not be potatoes, there may not be onions, there may not be broccoli. People are not able to access the food that they need, and that's why the Food Hub opened to home delivery and to individuals, was to provide a service to our community and feed our neighbors. And we are now able to sell more food, which is an amazing benefit, but we're also feeding our community in this time of need. And we're also working really hard to secure some grants as well. I can't promise anything, and I'm not going to talk numbers, but we might be getting some additional funding to provide kind of CSA type boxes on a weekly or monthly basis. And we will be finding out in the near future. Currently, we are providing boxes to some Head Start families, about a small handful of Head Start families on a weekly basis as well. So we might contact you first, hey, do you have 7 bunches of chard that we could purchase from you? When we make that random request, it's to feed those families right now.
Yeah, and I want to also just reiterate, or I don't think reiterate, we say it a lot here at the Food Hub, so maybe that's why I'm thinking we're I've said it already, but it's so important as a farmer that you list regularly. Customers like to see consistency. So even if you only have asparagus for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's fine. Just list that. When they see your name pop up over and over again, they see your local farm. And again, we'll talk about your producer profile page, because individual families and customers have a little bit more time than some of our wholesale shoppers did. So they're looking at the more details about who you are. When they see your name over and over again, it's like seeing a familiar face at the farmer's market. They really are interested in learning, seeing more. Let's say they get your asparagus and it was amazing. They're going to be so excited to see your kale and your lettuce and other things. So we really want to encourage you to list consistently as much as you can. Even if you only have like one 12 bunch case of cilantro available, that's fine. Just list consistently. This is a quote that Kelly's just pulled up that we got. We've had a lot of sweet quotes come in from local customers about how happy they are with the local produce.
And Anna Victoria, if I could make a point that any farm that lists a mixed produce box or
sells
mixed
out
food box, whatever you list, it sells. If it's a mixed greens and herb box, you list 6 of them, it sells out in an hour and a half.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's some, you can be creative. You can make like a green box that's just like chard and kale and lettuce. Some people really want that. Like Kelly was saying, like, there's a lot of staples that are missing. There's also people that just really want fresh local food. So don't feel like, oh, I don't have this great CSA box with tons of different varieties in it. If you want to list like a lower price greens box, herb bundles, just talk to us and we're happy to like work with you to find pricing that would work for people. Yeah, so Irene, this is a great question. Irene asked, price-wise for small orders, meaning I'm assuming you mean smaller quantities like the 3 bunch radish, would we list our price a little less than retail price to include your cost? Yes, keep that in mind that even whatever you list, let's say basically you want to just always remember what you want to take home. So if you want $2 for every head of lettuce and you have a three head of lettuce bag, then you would list it at $6. We have a markup. The Food Hub has a markup to help pay for personnel, our time, the website, the software that everybody uses, the nodes, like maintenance, all sorts of things. And most of the money actually always goes back to farmers, which is great. That's how the Food Hub was designed. But we have a markup. So most customers right now, individual and buyers clubs, are at a 30% markup. So if that helps you, just remember your pricing. Remember that whatever you list, it'll be the customer will pay 30% more of that. We are communicating right now about potentially raising the price after or the margin after shelter in place happens. We don't really know exactly what we're going to do yet, because that 30% markup is meant to be for buyers clubs, as you know, 30% above wholesale is certainly not a retail price. So we want to make sure that we're being sensitive to our friends, the local grocery stores, and not like hyper competing where they can get something way cheaper with the Food Hub. We want to be like on the same playing field here because we're all community. One thing I will say is if you have items like coffee, olive oil, tomato sauce, basically like if you went to a grocery store and you saw like a grocery department, I am working on trying to figure out how to create like a category that will provide retail and wholesale pricing so that it doesn't feel so competitive directly with places like the Ukiah Co-op, Harvest Market, and things like that. So I'm working on that. There's like a really funny glitch on the website that I'm working with tech support to figure out. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Irene. And then, yeah, one thing that we love, like we so love, is when you just text us and tell us like, next week I'm gonna have kale. That is really exciting to us. It helps us when we actually send out a weekly newsletter to our buyers, and that helps us get excited for this that's coming. So anything that you have coming in the next week, month, couple weeks, let us know. Just send us a text, leave us a voicemail. It's super helpful for us, and we get really excited to share about what's coming. And then it also helps us plan these mixed boxes that we are making for Head Start families and some seniors we're supporting as well. Yeah, so there is some fine print that I think we've kind of shared pretty extensively on our social media. We share it every time we send out an email where we have order minimum. So in the city of Ukiah, it's $35. In Willits, it's $65. And then every other place, basically they call us. So if you have any customers that are asking about like order minimums, they can just reach out to us. We try to make it make sense for us, so we're not losing money delivering food. But one last little piece that I'll add that's new, a new development at the Food Hub, is we're working on pickup locations. So this will simplify and kind of like ease the order minimum thing, where we can take, you know, hopefully like 20 plus boxes to one location, drop them off, and customers come and pick them up. And we have a very strict protocol. Like it's like a no touch situation, and there's masks and sanitizers and gloves involved. But we're working on one of those in Upper Lake, in Willits, in Redwood Valley. We have one on the coast at the Casper Community Center that our amazing volunteers are heading up, so people on the coast can get produce. Yeah, so if you have a location in mind, let us know. And I think that's basically it for customers on our end right now. And again, I did say that we would talk about who will the customers be. We honestly don't know. Like I mentioned, we are kind of just starting to communicate with our grocery stores again a little bit more. They were like so floored and so busy that they couldn't even like answer or return our phone calls for a while. But there's a little bit more ease that most of us are feeling. And so there's more communication with restaurants about how we can support them. So if you have specific questions, let us know. We are really excited about the multi-farm box. We think it's a really great model, and we want to get it out there to the community. There's also like the piece where a lot of our farmers markets in Mendocino County are during working hours. So people who have jobs or children, you know, in like the 9 to 5 or roughly around there, actually can't access local food in a lot of different ways. Which has always been a personal frustration of mine. So this is a really great way. We're hoping to be able to create like this delivery program where people can get a combination of local food delivered to them or at a pickup location. And one side thing also is that we are working on accepting CalFresh EBT. It's a long federal and state process. Unfortunately, we wish it was just quick and we could just do that. But it hasn't happened yet. And then hopefully by next week, we're going to get this exciting new thing up on our website called gift certificates. So we were thinking that it might be a lovely thing for Mother's Day or for other things where people can buy gift certificates for their community that they can spend on anything on the Food Hub. So that's another thing to look forward to help encourage local
and
purchasing.
on Victoria, we now can take credit cards. You can pay any open invoice on our system with a credit card.
Which is like a huge deal in case for our wholesalers and for our individual families. It's a really big deal to be able to pay via credit card. But that's a new thing as well. I think that's it on this piece. I don't see anything in the chat. But if you have specific questions about certain types of customers you're interested in reaching, I guess the last thing I'll also share. Yeah, it is great. We're very excited about the credit cards. The last thing I'll share, you're going to hear me say that a lot. That's a tendency of mine to say the last thing I'll share and then keep going. But one thing that we're also working on and have been always working on is working on like a CSA model for large businesses, hospitals, NCO, things like that. So this multi-farm box, we're not just relying on like individual people subscribing. We also would love to get places like that have 50 plus employees provide this as a community or like an employee benefit. So if you know of any large companies like that locally or semi-locally, Mendocino, Lake, Sonoma area, where we could deliver to, please reach out to us. We'd love to partner to make that happen. I guess that covers how do I pack, market, and sell to them. The marketing thing, I'll talk more about with Local Food Marketplace when I show an example of uploading a new product. But I will just like keep it try to encourage you to remember that an individual is very, 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 very different than a wholesale buyer. Most wholesale buyers, our list is very fancy compared to most food hubs and most food lists. Usually they're just like a spreadsheet or like line items and that's it. We have pictures and it makes it look super fancy, which, you know, is lovely, but maybe they're just kind of wholesale customers aren't taking as long to really read about the farm and their farming practices. They'll look at the things for the most part. I'm generalizing, obviously. But we are noticing that individuals and families and buyers clubs are asking very detailed questions about farmers, about exact practices, all sorts of things like that. They want really accurate photos. It's not about like a super fancy photo shoot. It's just an accuracy thing, which is true for wholesale as well. And we'll talk about that more in detail, but just keep in mind that right now, the bulk of our customers, I would honestly say 90 to 95% of our customers are families. Would you say that's true, Kelly?
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so at the moment, again. Yeah, so let me do a quick time check. So we're at 1 o'clock. We're a little bit early, which is just fine by me. And we wanted to take a little bit of a break. Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to jump into local food marketplace. So I keep like referring to that. Local food marketplace is the software that we use to sell your goods. And I'm going to share my screen and kind of just do a whole step-by-step situation to show you how to list, how to get it all going in that way. And it's a pretty straightforward software once you get used to it. And there's like just a little details and nuances that make it make sense on an easier scale. And I would love your questions on local food marketplace. So we're going to take a quick little, what you want to just do like a 10-minute break, 5-minute break? Anybody want to like stretch? I need to use the bathroom. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break and then we'll pop back in here and I will share the screen. We'll see you. All right. Hi, everyone. Okay. So we are going to get started. I really quickly wanted to take roll. Maybe I actually can't do that because I'm not the admin. Well, what we'll do is basically you can just reach out. I know we had some RSVPs. There's some people here that have like phone numbers, so maybe I'll just try to look you up, and that way we can just notate that you came to the training and everything's good. Also, in a little bit of rush this morning, I acknowledged everyone that works here, but I forgot to do to acknowledge the land that we're on. So just wanted to acknowledge that this food hub functions on Pomo territory, and just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that today. And we're gonna just jump right into local food marketplace. Okay, so the way that we're gonna do this is there are, again, a lot, it's pretty straightforward. It's gonna be potentially tedious to some of you who have local food marketplace down. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of go through the local food marketplace as you, the producer, sees it, not as us, the Food Hub crew, sees it on the admin side, so that we can walk you through how to make your producer profile page, how to add new products to sell, availability, how to print labels. This is kind of like the meat and potatoes of the training today. Everything's totally important, but this is one of the things that we really encourage you all to take notes on, and this is a great time for you to ask any questions in the chat box. What we're gonna maintain the mute situation, just because I think a lot of times the questions can get answered. But when I'm done going through local food marketplace, we will unmute everybody, and you can, or you can raise your hand. I know not all of you have video, and that's fine. And we will try to answer any questions, but this is a great time to be like, ugh, this thing's been so annoying about local food marketplace, help. And we'll get through it that way. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so for this training, I have created a producer named A Super Cool Tomato Farm. And I'm gonna walk you through the whole system. So I've logged in as a producer of the Super Cool Tomato Farm. The Super Cool Tomato Farm has already submitted all paperwork. They've submitted a W-9, a CAP 60, they've signed the membership agreement. They've got all their paperwork in, the CPC approved source, and they're ready to list. So in order to start this process on our website, you can, new producers can go to our website and fill out a form to apply to be a producer. Here. Oh, sorry, that goes to the portal. To sign up. And it's basically just a farmer registration, which you can either print or fill out digitally here. And it gives you all this information, your farm name and all that. We will get an email from that, and we will reach out to you with further steps, acquiring paperwork and such. And then either Rachel, myself, Kelly, or Caroline will set you up an account, and then you'll get an invitation email that's basically like, you've been invited to join MendoLake Food Hub, set a password, etc. So I've already done all those steps. And now I'm logged in here. So there's a couple things I want to show you just on your, this is on your left side, you'll see it says dashboard. So this is the first thing you'll see when you log in. There's two important things I want to show you here. This little section right here will tell you when ordering begins. So ordering begins at 7 a.m. Sunday and Wednesday. If you have any questions, our contact is always going to be right here on your dashboard. And the reason why this is important is you can really list anytime. Let's say it's 11 o'clock and you realize, oh my gosh, my tomato crop is ready. I didn't notice those carrots had sized up yet. I want to add that. However, it's very, very highly encouraged that you list before 7 a.m. On the ordering date. So some of you are early risers and prefer to do this first thing in the morning at 6:30 in the morning after you've walked the field. Some of you are more night owls and you prefer to do it the night before. That's totally fine. The periods are set up on our end, you don't have to worry about any of this, but on our end, we set them up so that you can start listing the day before. So for example, tomorrow, the ordering cycle starts on Wednesday at 7 a.m. That's when customers can log in and start ordering. But you can start listing right now. Today is Tuesday, it's 1:15, and if you go, which I'll show you how, in a minute, you can list. So you don't need to wait till 6:30 in the morning. I myself am not a morning person. So when I'm doing listing for the Food Hub, I love doing it at night. But again, there's some people that are very early risers and prefer to do it in the morning. Either way works, but your best chance of selling things is to do it before the ordering cycle opens. So for example, I've logged in here. I have a buyer's club. I purchase produce through the Food Hub for a lot of elders on my road. So I've logged into that, but I wanted to show you when I log in, technically right now, the ordering cycle is closed. Right now, Rachel and Mark are doing deliveries for the Sunday, Monday cycle. And so the next cycle doesn't open until Wednesday, May 6th at 7 a.m. So when a customer logs in and it's not in an ordering cycle, it'll tell you ordering opens on Wednesday, May 6th at 7 a.m. Check back then for the full inventory. And then again, contact information, and then it'll say, see what was available. So you click that, and right now there's nothing. And I'll show you why there's nothing. But this is what a customer sees on their end. The reason why there's nothing is because I forgot to autofill. Which I will do, but also because nobody's listed. So I can see Elliot's on here. Elliot, I'm just gonna put you on blast real quick. If Elliot knows he wants to list some bread, he can do it right now. He can list his loaves of bread right now, and then they'll show up here and customers will know that that's available. Again, I try to encourage customers to know to check back then for the full inventory. And most of our retail customers, they get really excited about stuff. So they log in like at 7:05. So you have the best chance of selling stuff if you get it in there before the ordering cycle opens. I would say within the first hour is when we get our bulk purchases. It kind of slows down throughout the day. And then after lunchtime, there's more purchases that happen. But when we sell out of like the New Agrarian Collective boxes or the Cinnamon Bear boxes is in that morning period usually. And you are totally welcome if you sell out and then you go back to your farm and you're like, actually, I have another 12 bunches of those. I have the time to harvest. You can always increase the inventory. You'll get an email that says you sold out. So you'll get notified. But we'll talk about that in a second. So this is what the customer sees. And you come here and you say, okay, I can see where, when ordering begins. If I have a question, here's the phone number and the email. The other thing I want to show you here is release notes. So Local Food Marketplace is a software that's constantly changing. And if you need to figure out what's going on, let us know. I think you can create an account so that you can see what's going on. If you can't, for some reason, see the release notes and you want to know what's changed, you can email us. I'm trying to work on doing sort of like digests that share what's different, because sometimes they'll move where certain things are on your dashboard, but usually the changes are actually on our end, on the admin side. They're things like updated reports, the routing software has changed. So usually if there's something that's really specific to producers, we'll try to send an email or a text to everybody to let them know that something has changed. Also on your dashboard is basic information about the period, how many orders you got, what your revenue is, what your total yearly revenue is here, and then information about the ordering. It's open until the cycle that's open right now will be open until Thursday, May 7th at 7 a.m. and then distribution is Friday, May 8th. So just some information about the period. Now I want to say just because the period is open doesn't mean people can shop. So the shop is always open Wednesday, 7 a.m. to Thursday, 7 a.m. and then Sunday, 7 a.m. to Monday, 7 a.m. for Tuesday delivery. I didn't mention the Friday delivery. So Wednesday to Thursday is for Friday delivery, Sunday, Monday for Tuesday delivery. And if those hours seem really bizarre, it's because we were working with wholesale clients before. Some of our restaurants would order at midnight, some of them would order at 6 a.m. And we just haven't adjusted the periods because that's how everything is structured for farmers. And we felt like it would be really not kind to just change everything suddenly. So now we're gonna click on, I'm gonna go straight to settings here on the left side. All right, so this is the super cool tomato farm. They've got no information going on here. So what does that translate to and why does that matter? as I mentioned, our customers are, individuals and buyers club customers are more interested in who you are and what you do. So when they're in the shop, if they click this Meet Your Farmer page, they're going to see all the producers that we have. So this includes some of the producers, like I mentioned, that we have. Yeah, Elliot, just going to zoom right in there. This includes the producers that we have at Sonoma County and then Capay Valley as well. Some of these pictures, I had to find them online, so I will tell you how you can update them if you're unhappy with your photo. But this is definitely more relevant to the current customers that we have. It's great to have anyways, but you'll notice if you scroll down to the Super Cool Tomato Farm, there's no information. I don't have anything here. I have nothing listed. If I want to learn more about my tomato farm's practices, there's nothing here. Not to say that a customer won't buy if there's no information, but I will say that customers get very excited when they know about your practices, especially those of you who's actually most of us who do organic practices or beyond organic regenerative practices, but don't have the certifications that some of the customers are used to. If you share here your beyond organic practices, even like a sentence or two, customers feel really excited about that. So totally up to you. But if you go here to, let's see, let me move this screen a little bit. This is your name. So the producer name in red is what's going to show up here. If I change that to, it's not that soup, it's just normally cool, then that'll change the name here. So that's important if your farm name changes, which is not. Here are the owners. Oh, that's Nico and Avita. So owners, I'll say tomato farmer. Now the owners, oops, sorry. Back to the screen. All right, this should be working again. Okay, so the owners are who, I'm just gonna keep updating things and then refreshing the screen so you can see how it changes. See how it says, now it says contact is tomato farmer. That's this owner's situation here. If I say the contact is here, or let's see, we'll say tomatillo, just to show you. What actually shows up is the name of the owner. It's a funny thing, but if you're the one that's farming all the time, and let's say you have someone else that's the owner, when you list it like that, just keep in mind that this part right here, the owners, is what's going to show up on your producer profile page. This funny thing that we realized recently is that your information actually shows up on the producer profile page, and not everybody wants it to be like that. So it's a funny thing that we're talking with Local Food Marketplace about, but if your address, because we need your address to be able to send you things like paperwork or checks. I mean, your check is actually about your W-9, but if you, for some, you don't want your address out there in the wide world, keep that in mind that this shows up on your producer profile page. And I'm talking to Local Food Marketplace, or my goal is to talk to them about, like, is there a way we can disable that? Because not every farmer wants that. Your phone number shows up too. I hope none of you have gotten personal calls from people. If you don't mind, you're definitely welcome to do that. I know some farmers don't mind it, and in fact encourage people to call to ask them questions. So that option is there. We just want to make sure that you know that the phone number on here will show up on that page. Here it says checks payable to. You can write who you want that check to come out to. This is another important one. If you have a website, now it doesn't have to be your personal website. It could also be like if you have a Facebook page or an Instagram page, you can put that on here as well. Again, this is just if you want to encourage people to come and get to know your farm a little bit more. So that's super, super basic. This is just information, contact information about the farm. I'm going to open this up and see if anybody has questions. Figure out how to use Zoom. Okay. I don't know how to use Zoom apparently. So Kelly, if there's questions, if you could answer. answer them, that would be amazing. Oh, here we go. Maybe it won't let me see the chat. No questions. Okay, great. So we've taken care of basic contact information. So up here at the tabs, you'll see contact, then we've got another tab that says info. So this, in case you're like, what does it look like? This, when you click this button, it'll open that screen that I keep sharing with you so that you can keep refreshing it and then deciding, you know, what does it look like? Do I want to edit anything? So your farm description is a really cool farm. By the way, if anybody logs in as a customer, they're going to see this. But see down here now, it says about us. We're a really cool farm. And then your farming practices, beyond organic tomatoes. Yum. These are very bad examples of what you would actually write on there, but I think you get it. I'm trying to make it quick so that you can see how it shows up on the screen. So now we've got your contact information, about us, practices. So about us is, you know, a family farm and the third generation or 3 generations family farm in the rolling hills of Mendocino County. We dry farm, etc. Or actually, the dry farming thing you could put down here in practices. If you don't want these two, it's not required. You could put it all under just about us and have it like that. But people actually really look at these things. And then, okay, so that's basic description there. And then we've got this logistics tab, which is different. It actually has nothing to do with this, but I want to show you just chronologically, or not chronologically, sequentially what's happening here. So in the logistics tab, it says you have the option to click I am on vacation, where you will deliver your products, where you want your pick list to go, and pick ticket preference, which I'll go over each one. So if you're on vacation, please let us know, it's helpful. But you can just click that button and basically it says you're currently set on vacation, your products will not be displayed. So this is important if you have something called auto listing, which I'll explain in a second. And usually most farmers won't be auto listing unless it's tomato season when they know they're gonna have tomatoes and cucumbers for a month. But if you have something auto listed like flour or coffee, and you don't click I'm on vacation, you will be expected to still deliver the products. So always make sure that you click and then don't forget to unclick when you come back. This tells you where you're delivering to, where you want your pick list to go. Let's say you have a large farm with 7 different people who all want to get the pick list. You can enter multiple email addresses by separating them with commas. So you can enter as many emails as you'd like to make sure whoever needs to get the pick list gets the pick list. And then this is an important one, pick ticket preference. We really encourage you to always choose detailed, and I'll go over the detailed pick ticket in a second. But that's a really important part because it tells you where to go, where your products go in the node, if they go inland or coastal, and what the customer names are. And then we've got users here. So this is an awesome feature that we love that allows you to have multiple users for the same account. So again, this is the kind of thing where, let's say you have interns that come in and you want them to be doing your listing, or your partnership is in flux, you can add different users and then we can request to have one of the users be deleted or added. It's really simple. You just add with the plus sign here, put in the name, put in their email, and then I would click this send invite email, and then you'll get that email that says like, welcome to the Food Hub, and you click add user. If you or someone you know, another user gets locked out or you can't remember your password, you have reset your password. You can resend the email that invites you because it does expire. And then there's also this login history, which is just a log. And this is helpful if you're like, who is the one that listed the radishes at this cost? You can log in here and see different users, or at least what time that person logged on. So that's just like a piece of information. Let's see, is there any questions about those basic tabs? No questions. Great, we're just plugging along. We're gonna get outside in the garden. All right, so, ooh, see myself, that's weird. Okay, so this is your settings just as a reminder, this is your settings. This is where all that information comes. This is where you put your information. Again, your logistics, basic logistics, and your users. That's where it all is, settings. Okay, so we highly encourage, especially this info tab, that you update this. This is really interesting for me because I am realizing you as a farmer do not get to choose your pictures. So when I log into Local Food Marketplace as an admin, I can go to producers. I can look up the tomato farm. Okay, so this is new for me. Basically, when you are ready to send over your photos, you will have to send them to us. It's under the admin. So you'll have to email them to us in order to get a photo up on this producer page. So there's 3 different ones: producer thumbnail, producer image 1, and producer image 2. What we really only need, and we don't really need any of them, but they are helpful, is the thumbnail. Because you'll see on the Meet Your Farmers, this is what the thumbnail is. It's the little image that shows up where all the other farmers are. Notice the cool tomato farm doesn't have a picture. It's not the end of the world, but it's like, oh man. And sometimes if you haven't sent me a photo, I'll just look up, like, Coastal Hill Farm only does eggs, so we do eggs. But yeah, it's helpful to have a photo here. It just looks nice. People can also check if they are curious about certain farms. Customers can check there. So what I would do is, when you send me the photo and I approve it, I guess it makes sense that I would have to approve what it looks like, but I will choose a photo. Oh, I downloaded a bad photo on the internet. Okay. I will choose the photo. I'll format it so that it fits. I'll save it. And then when you refresh, there's the photo. Cool Tomato Farm now has an image. That's very exciting. The other images that pop up, if you click there, notice how the image doesn't show up and it's not here. That's actually this producer image 1, producer image 2. That's where you can add photos. If your team changed or anything like that, if you want to update the way your field looks, this is where you can do it. You don't need 2 images. You don't even need these images. It's just, I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so I'm going to log back in on the producer side. Questions about images? No. Great. Okay, so we're on the dashboard. We've done settings. So these are the important, kind of like meat and potato every day. A lot of that, like, setup stuff, you're going to do it once. You might update it if somebody leaves. I can see a question. Yes, Irene, that would be lovely. We do have a photo of you, though, Irene, that I got from Word of Mouth magazine. But those are the kinds of things you're going to do just about once. Once it's all set up, you really don't need to do them anymore unless anything changes. Like, let's say you got your Mendocino Renegade certification, so you want to update that. You're welcome to do that. I want to quickly show you a pick list. Okay, so I made a sort of dummy order here. And this is what a pick list looks like. So if you sold something in the cycle, we will email you a pick list, and basically this is what it'll look like, but it'll be in an email. Sometimes there's some information above your pick list, like make sure you pack efficiently, or changes in the note, or changes in sales. But just as a FYI, you will get this email, but let's say you forgot to save your email or you accidentally deleted it, you can always log in and check your pick list. Or if you want to double check your pick list according to your paycheck, this is the place to do it. So see in the periods here, these are all the periods we've had, I think of all time, yes. And so this is the current one. I don't have anything yet because it's not open. And then there's this one, which is, again, like I said, I created kind of a dummy order here. Let's see, I see the question. Oh, thank you, Kelly. It was just a note from Kelly for those that don't have a screen to just send any photos you'd like to our email. So here's your pick list. You can check the period here, and then over here you'll see pick list format. So I want to show you the difference between the two. There's this that's a summary, and this is like if you just need a quick, like, hey, go and pick these units. Let's say you sold 10 10-pound units, it'll say quantity 10, units 10. of the beefsteak tomato, and they're going inland. If you want to know who they're going to, there's a few reasons you would want to know that. You click detailed, and the difference here is that it adds this order items by customer list. So it'll tell you who the customer is, where they are, what they ordered. It'll give you a breakdown. So rather than this just saying 10, it'll show you who ordered what. If you are handwriting labels, which I'll talk about labels in a second, you have to look this up because we need the name of the person getting your item on your label. And so this is the String Creek Buyers Club. They are inland, and it will always say either inland or coast. Sometimes it'll say inland Willits Node or inland Mendocino Greenhouse and Garden Supply. Basically, this is just for us on our end to know where the item is going. The most important thing for you to notice is this part where it says inland or coast. It's in capital letters. It's there for you. That is where you're going to put it in the node on what side. The item, beefsteak tomato, what is the unit? So if you have beefsteak tomatoes in 10 pounds and 20 pound cases, they will list separately. Yeah, and this is your pick list. And then you can always print it out, which I highly encourage you do. Not everyone has, you know, smartphones or anything like that, but most people will actually print out a detailed pick list and just take it with them to the farm so that they make sure that things are packed correctly. Any questions on pick tickets? Okay, so like Kelly mentioned earlier, we pay you based on your pick ticket, but we also double check your pick list against packing slips. We totally understand that sometimes things happen. You misread the thing and you thought it said 5, but it actually said 8. For whatever reason, things happen, we get it. It's a bummer, we have to call customers, it's fine, but we will double check your packing slips. Our drivers are trained to basically write short on the packing slip, and we'll double check that with the customer, with you, and just make sure everything's on the up and up, and then we'll pay you according to the pick list and the packing slips for the delivery. Okay, and so another thing you'll notice here is it'll say who it's for, the date, and then there's all this information about your pickup location. So I'm located, the Cool Tomato Farm delivers to Ukiah, and it'll say here, you need to deliver to your drop-off location at 160 Parducci Road in Ukiah before 5 p.m. Monday and Thursday. So it's right here on your pick list when your deadline is. If you're going to be late, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, please let us know. This is especially important for any coastal deliveries because we need to be on top of making sure Mendo Coast Produce takes your items. Sometimes they get to Ukiah at midnight, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. But the important thing is that our driver actually goes in the evening and sorts things out after they do a run down to Sonoma County and they do the aggregation. So we take everything usually from Willits, Upper Lake, sometimes Boonville, bring it all to Ukiah and aggregate it and make sure everything's sorted properly. If your item's not there at 9 o'clock at night and our driver leaves, there's a possibility that your item won't get there. So these deadlines are hard, they're important. If you're gonna be late, you have to let us know. And we highly encourage that you not be late, but we do know things happen. You might get a flat tire, you know, things happen. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. There's the text message information, there's our phone number. Yeah, let us know when you're coming in. There's also this packing list, which kind of goes hand in hand with labels. So you can choose your packing list, what still needs to be packed. Let's say there's the String Creek Buyers Club. I've already packed that. I've already handwritten a label. You can click item packed. And I'll show you this in labels. Maybe I'll just go to labels right now. Oops, sorry. Okay, so here under reports, we're ready. We've done our pick list, right? We've harvested everything. We did our harvest of our 10 pounds of beefsteak tomatoes. We're ready to print out a label for String Creek Buyers Club so we can go take it to the Ukiah node before 5 p.m. So the way we're gonna print labels is we're gonna go over here on the left side and go reports. And then there's 2 things. You can run a report of what you sell, items sold versus what you listed. There's all sorts of reports here that you can pull. So definitely just tap into those when you are just having so much free time and want to know anything like that. But these can be really helpful. So just remember that there's all these reports here that you can run. But there's this other tab here that says labels. You click the labels, and this is going to let you print out labels. We understand that not everyone has a printer, and we have wanted, like our dream of dreams is to have a printer at the nodes, but we just haven't been able to do that because there's no internet connection. But if there's any way that you can get things printed label wise, it saves you a tremendous amount of time. You know, printers are not necessarily the cheapest things, but we've had farmers just tell us, like, the $100 I spent on my printer was totally worth my time of not handwriting all these labels, especially in peak summer. So you'd click labels, and then you're going to want to click detailed labels. Just going to check if there's any questions. No. Okay, great. You're going to check detailed labels. Now, a really important thing here is this little caption where it says use the printer icon within the label preview page to print labels. If you don't do it that way, they will come out really funky and weird. They'll appear only as one column, and then you'll waste like half of your labels. So always make sure to check the printing icon, and I'll show you that in a second. You're going to select the period. So again, I've only made sales in this period, the second. And then the size of your label. We have large labels, and you'll see that it says Avery 5163. So you can just look those up online. We have people that just buy huge packs of them and just keep them stored. But this is how they're formatted with Local Food Marketplace, is for this specific type of label. And then all of these, we just check mark all of them. Include your customer name and the customer location. And part of the reason why the customer location is helpful is in case you forget your pick list, or you forget where the customer, if they're inland or coastal, adding that to the label will just make it easy for you to be able to unload everything. Or let's say you have a new employee or an intern and they're not familiar with your customers, the label will just say inland and they'll know where to put it. This option here, it says skip labels. Enter the number of labels to skip if you're using a previously used label sheet. It's a pretty cool option. Let's say, for example, in this scenario, I've only sold one case. I don't want to waste that entire sheet of labels. So you can choose the number of labels to skip. I have had a farmer let me know, or a producer let me know, that if you, I'm assuming it was an inkjet printer, and if you have this, it kind of smears on the page. I think this might only work on a laser, but maybe other people have other experiences. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then you just click print labels. So remember that thing that said printer icon? That's this right here. You can also hit Control P. But if you don't do it this way, again, it'll only print in one column. But you'll see all sorts of things on here. So the date is Tuesday the 5th. That's today, it's the date you're printing it. It says the Food Hub, and then the name of your customer, where, there you go, we'll zoom in. The name of the customer, where it's going, so you know it goes to the inland side. This part, again, after the hyphen is for us, for our drivers, but really what you need to know is this, inland, what the item is, what the unit is, and then this is an important part too, is quantity, 1 of 1. That's really helpful for our drivers to have that information, because if they see it's quantity 1 of 2, they're gonna look for that second box. And then the producer. So the thing to note about this is if you don't print out labels, we need all of this information handwritten. So it can't just say String Creek Buyers Club tomatoes. It needs all of this information. There's a lot of reasons why, like I mentioned before, there's been times where we've had up to 60 or 80 orders. The details are important for our drivers. So just keep that in mind, that we need all this information written out. I know it can seem like a little bit of a drag, but we do, especially this quantity part. All right, so then when I'm ready to go, I would hit print, and then this new window will open up. And again, if you don't do it this way, it'll only print it down 1 column. But see, these are formatted for the Avery labels. I'd hit print here. And that is how I'd get labels done. So any questions about labels? Okay, moving right along. Okay, so if you look over here on the left side, the 2 most important things, you'll notice I saved them for last because I wanted you to stick around for all the other things, is products and availability. So if you look here, so far, the only products that the Cool Tomato Farm sells is beefsteak tomatoes. That's the only thing I have for sale. But let's say I've expanded my horizons and now I'm a cool farm in general, and I also sell lemon cucumbers, and I magically started roasting coffee, and I sell coffee now too. You're gonna wanna add those products. If you go straight to availability, you will not be able to list those because they're not listed as products that you sell. So you'll see in categories, you're like, wait, where's that other stuff? I wanna list other things. You have to make sure that you include it as a product that you sell here on the left side where it says products before you can list it availability wise. So first I'm gonna edit this beefsteak tomato just to show you a couple things. The first thing is, originally when I started selling, in this scenario, when I started selling beefsteak tomatoes, I only sold them in 10-pound cases, but now I'm coming out my ears with beefsteaks. So I wanna sell them in larger cases. I wanna give discounts to people who want larger cases. This is, oops, sorry, I kind of just like skipped through that. Let me start over here. Okay, so I would click it here on the actual name of the product. And then where it says add selling unit, I would add a selling unit. So now I'm offering them in 25-pound case. Okay. If you change the name here, it'll tell you, it'll change any old orders. So that is important because it's helpful for like our reports and things like that to have things consistent. So we don't want to change this 10-pound case to 25-pound case. That's its own thing. We want to add a selling unit. Let's just say we're going to give it to people for $40 discount if they buy a bunch. So this is the part a lot of people have some confusion about. So I'm going to just check in about the multiplier. So one thing I forgot to mention first is your base unit. So what is your base unit that you sell it in? Most often we ask people to do things by the pound or the bunch or the ounce, and then rather than a case. And the reason why is because sometimes you want to sell, let me try to find an example. Sometimes you want to sell radishes, 3 of them in a bag rather than your 24 bunch case. So if you do each or pound, it gives you a little bit more flexibility to make it make sense for the consumer when they try to purchase something from you. So here I've added 25-pound cases. My base unit is pounds. It's a 10-pound case. My multiplier will be however many pounds are in that case. It'll be 10. And I'll show you how that why that matters when I do availability. So in this case, 25-pound case is going to be 25. This is an important one also. It's your sort order. If you want to push that 25-pound case, you want it to be the first thing customers see, you can place that as number 1 and then do your 10-pound case as number 2. And basically what will happen is you'll get a drop-down menu. The customer will get a drop-down menu, and the first thing they'll see is 25-pound case, but when they click the drop-down menu, they'll see this 10-pound case. So let's say it's late season, you're coming out of your ears with tomatoes, you do not want to do 10-pound cases anymore. Rather than deleting a product, because deleting a unit is going to mess up all the reports and everything, all you have to do is hide it. So this hide option here, basically just exactly what it sounds like. It hides it from the customer. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Other things to note about this product listing. Selecting your image. So again, photos really, really help. We on our end try to do everything we can to make sure that there's a photo for every image, because otherwise it's like a broken image and it looks really funny on the screen. And I cannot stress enough that it's actually not that important that you have like a super fancy photo with amazing lighting. Obviously you want to represent it as good as accurately as possible. It's more about accuracy. There's been times, admittedly, on my end where a photo wasn't uploaded by, like the example I use is somebody, one time we listed nettle from a producer, and I looked up nettle and I posted what I know of to be nettle. And actually what they ended up delivering was more the wild nettle, which is a really small leaf, purple stemmed nettle. And it was totally different than the image that I had placed, which is what I know of more of like the coastal large lush nettle. So it's really important that you do accuracy. If your rhubarb is a certain color or your asparagus is a certain color and we list green asparagus, but it's actually purple, you want to be able to show that to our customers. So I kind of made this go quickly here, but you can upload an image just like you would an attachment to your email right here by uploading your image. When you get it uploaded, you click select. I encourage you to label it on that screen I just was on, beefsteak tomato, because sometimes, especially if you sell a lot of things can just get like kind of messy. Let's see, there's a question here. I'm gonna check that. So the unit name is what actually, okay, so Irene's question was unit name is the pound. So going back to the screen where it says unit name, the unit name is what the customer will see. So when they're going to order, if this says case, they're gonna be like, what does that mean? What's the quantity, you know, and they want the details. So here you're gonna write it's a 10-pound case. Keep in mind that however you write it out here is exactly like it's gonna show up on the storefront. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So now we've got a fancy image, you know, and then we're gonna enter a tagline for the product. So this one, I cannot encourage you enough. Like if you're gonna put a little bit of energy into this, this is the one that you want, the tagline. So delicious, meaty tomatoes, slicing and sauce. This little sentence that you add is actually what the customer sees right on the homepage when they're shopping. And it makes a big difference. So sometimes I've seen producers add the descriptions down in this bigger box, which is you're absolutely welcome to add larger descriptions. But this actually won't show up unless the customer clicks on the item and then goes to like a special page to read about it, which a lot of customers don't do. So this is sort of that quick way to grab them, talking about the flavor, the size, what they're great for, just a quick sentence, exactly what it sounds like, a tagline. That is where we encourage you to do that. That's your kind of selling point. This deposit part right here, we'll have to talk to certain people about. That's for people like, let's say Mendo Ferments, let's say Michelle decides she wants to do a deposit for her buckets. So you could do that, where the customer pays a deposit amount and then is refunded. We admittedly have never done that I know of. So that would be something we'd have to work through together, but I'm super happy to figure that out if there's something that you want, like flower buckets or things like that. Now down here, you'll see this little check mark box. So I've added a few attributes. This is a CCOF certification. If you're like, what is that? It's so tiny. You can hover over it and it'll tell you what it is. So CCOF certified organic. This is just a random thing that I found that says organically grown because again, there's a lot of customers that ask about organic certification. Ever since we've opened to individual sales, we're doing a lot of kind of customer relations talking about organic practices without certification. So I added this as an option for you to click mark if you're like, yeah, it's organically grown, but you're not quite certified. That's there. There's also these that I can't really find a tiny image for that says unsprayed, free from synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. And then there's this other one that says conventional. There's the USDA certified organic. This is the Mendocino Renegade certified. And then there's the Demeter certified. So let's say you're both CCOF and USDA certified and Renegade. You just got them all. And then you're gonna save your changes. So now, if you'll notice, the unit count of this beefsteak tomato went from 1 to 2. And the reason why, again, is because I added a unit. Not only do we have 10-pound cases now, we also have 25-pound cases. Yeah, so that is the basics. I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna move on to an important thing that we've kind of recently discovered is this top part up here where it says pricing method. Most farmers who sell produce will almost always choose type A products. And it explains right here what it is. It's for products that only have one selling unit or for products that have multiple selling units that pull from a shared availability. So usually when you go and do your walk to see what you have available, you do a quick scan and you realize you have 50 bunches of kale. So that is a shared availability. Even though you have, let's say, 12 bunch cases and 24 bunch cases, that's only in your 50-pound or 50 bunch availability, right? So it's all being pulled from the same inventory, your same availability. So that's pretty commonly what you'll choose for your product. There is this other one. These other ones don't really apply, but you can definitely feel free to look at them. But this one, which is a type C product, is very specific. It's for products that have multiple selling units that each need to be listed with their own availability. So the only things that I've seen this really accurately for are things like llama, the forest people listed lion's mane mushrooms, and they were all different weights. And so it wasn't pulling from a shared availability. Each individual one was a unit. So the unit name was lion's mane, or like one mushroom. And then when you do availability, it'll give you the option to do multiple. And I'm going to leave this at type C just so you can see it. But again, most of you, if you're a produce farmer, will use type A. This is where you can decide, like, I'm never growing beef steaks again. I'm deleting this product. That's where you can do that. This little magnifying glass is a preview. So if you're like, what does this look like to the customer? And how do I want to change this? You'll see that it says it's a beefsteak tomato, it's name of your farm, which at any time they can click to learn more about your farm and what you do. Here's your tagline, it's bold. If you had other information, it would show up down here, and I'm sorry, down here where it says under reviews. And then all those little attributes that you clicked are here. So a customer can add this to their favorite list so that they can quickly find it. But this is what it looks like to the customers. And let's say you're like, they're actually not that needy right now. You can delete that at any time, edit it, and again, that'll change it here. So I highly encourage folks to always, like, once you've done your listing, to just click that magnifying glass and see what it looks like for the customer. I understand that not everyone has the time or the interest to do that. Just an offer if you want to do that. All right, so let's say Cool Tomato Farm has grown and we've got so many categories of products now, and I'm just like overwhelmed by this huge list that I have here. You can always minimize the number of products you have by category by clicking this product category. Right now I only sell tomatoes, that's all that's there. But let's say I want to sell something else. I want to start selling cucumbers. So you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to list cucumbers, and then you'll notice they're not there. And that's because it's not a product that I have for sale. So see this blue button here that says add products to sell. This happens all the time where folks will just immediately click add products to sell, and then they'll click this one right away, this create a new product. See this that I'm highlighting? We highly, we're just like a huge request that you please double check if the product's already listed in the shared inventory. And the reason why is when we pull reports for various things like grant reporting or things like that, if every farmer that listed cucumbers created a new product that said cucumbers, we would have a different line item for each individual one. So it really helps us if you just search the product. So you can minimize the number of categories here. You have them by vegetables, fruits and nuts, eggs and dairy, grains and legumes, etc. But if you want to just search, which is my favorite thing to do, you can just type in cucumbers. All right, so let's say I want to do lemon cucumbers. You'll see it's here, lemon cucumbers. If you've gone through the list and you're like, nope, there's no lemon cucumbers, this is when you'll do the create a new product. And I'll go over that in 1 second. But let's say I want to sell lemon cucumbers. I want you to notice here it says base unit is pound. If you are selling, this is not the best example, obviously, because you can't sell cucumbers by the bunch. But let's say it said parsley by the pound, and you're like, no, I'm going to sell it by the bunch. You can edit that. So don't worry about creating a new product. You have the option to edit that. So we're going to check it and click add product. And now we will see that the product, the reason it's not showing up is because of this category. So now it's a product that I sell at the Cool Tomato Farm. And you'll have to just go through that whole process again of adding your selling units. I sell them in 10-pound cases, 25-pound cases, do your taglines, et cetera, et cetera. If you wanted to change, this is where you would change your base unit. The example I gave was if it was parsley that was listed by the pound, but you want to sell it by the bunch, this is where you would do it. Or bunch cases, for example. Okay, so I want to show you how to add a brand new product that's never been sold before. Is there any questions about anything I've talked about so far? Nope, okay, great. So add products to sell. Let's say we're doing this fancy new cucumber that nobody's ever heard of called Sunshine. Oh, there's no Sunshine cucumbers. I looked. checked. Ooh, there's watermelon sunshine, but there's no cucumbers. So I need to send or create a brand new product. So here it says create a new product. Really quickly, if you'll notice when I looked up, like I want to use this example. Sometimes if your editing is not exactly like what this is listed, for example, you didn't do the space, you'll see that no product was found, which it can be frustrating. So we encourage you, if it's a specific variety, to just look up the variety, the word, and then you'll see it here. I hope that makes sense. But here's create a new product. We're going to make a brand new product, and it's exactly the same as doing the other way. I'm sorry, adding the product, like I said, units, but the only difference is that you'll do product name. We ask just for consistent reporting that you do the type of thing that it is, like a cucumber, a tomato, a watermelon, and then comma, space, the variety name. And then you'd fill out all this information. Okay, it wants you to select a base unit. We're gonna sell it by the pound. And it wants you to list at least one unit. We're gonna say a 10-pound case, $10, cheap. Again, our multiplier is 10 because our base unit is by the pound. We're selling it in 10-pound cases, and the multiplier is 10. And the multiplier comes into play when we do availability. So we'll do that next. We created a product. Notice this right here. The new product has been created. An email has been sent to the administrator who will review the product and add the product to the appropriate category. So that's really, really important. If you're trying to list something that's brand new, that's never been listed before, and it's 6:55 in the morning, we are clocked in, but we might miss it. So it's great if you're listing a brand new product that's never been listed, if you can do it the night before, or give us a heads up by sending us a text and saying, hey, I'm listing a brand new product, I need you to approve it. Because we need to both approve it and categorize it on our end in order for you to list it. So make sure you give us a heads up. All right, so now I've got all these new products. I've got them for sale, and I'm ready to list for this sales cycle. So I'm gonna go over here where it says availability. Any questions about adding products? Great. So availability on the left side here. So availability means exactly what it sounds like. It's what you have available during that cycle. So again, it's gonna remind you that ordering opens Wednesday at 7 a.m. So get your stuff in before then if you want the best sales. For a minute, and Rachel does, and I do the sales setup. For a minute, we were doing, we were setting up these periods for the entire month, but it got a little bit confusing for some folks. We might do that again. If we do it again, we'll let you know. But in this case, just always make sure that you choose when the period is. So if you're like, wait, why is the period the 5th, but the thing doesn't start till the 6th? So again, the period is when the thing opens up for you to be able, on like the administrative side, for farmers and for us to be able to add products for sale. So it always happens the day before. For the Sunday cycle, it'll be the Saturday date. So you just choose that. Okay, I want it for this period. You want to see all your categories, or you just want to make sure, like right now we have a lot of cucumbers. That would, again, limit the number if you have like a ton of products. If you only have like 10 products, they'll just be listed. It's not that many. And it'll tell you you have no listed products. So then it tells you use the plus sign to list products. So you can either do it here at this plus sign, and it tells you, hover it, says list products to sell. Or you could do it at this blue plus sign, either one. It'll tell you to choose a category. You can choose all, or specifically cucumbers. I'll look into that in a second. Okay, so all categories. So 2 different things happening here. If you notice, it says cucumber sunshine is type A, right? And then beefsteak tomatoes type C. And again, remember that a type C product is a product that does not have a shared inventory. So again, produce will very rarely be a part of this, because again, you probably have 100 pounds of tomatoes and that's it. No matter how you divvy them up, that's a shared inventory. But if you had coffee in 5-ounce and 1-pound bags, that's going to be 2 different inventories, and they don't rely on each other. So you'll notice here, it says cucumber sunshine, there's a 10 pound, it's a type A product, and then it'll ask you, how many pounds do you have? I'm gonna go back really quick just to illustrate this point further. And I'm gonna add a 25-pound case of cucumbers. Price is $20. I want you to get more money than that, obviously. I'm just doing this quickly. Okay. Cool. Okay, so now you'll see we have 2 units for the cucumbers. Oops, 2 units for the cucumbers, 2 units for tomatoes. I've got lemon cucumbers here, and that's why they weren't showing up, is because I don't have them. I don't have a unit. So, okay, so now we want to list these, all categories. So here, 2 things you'll see. The beefsteak tomato, which is a type C product, has 2 different spots where you can add things, right? The cucumber, though, only has 1. How many pounds do you have total? Again, shared inventory. You have 100 pounds of cucumbers. We're going to list 100 pounds. All right. And then it'll tell you you've got 10 10-pound cases, 4 25-pound cases, and the prices, and then you can check back throughout the day to see how many have sold. We highly, we just want to say, do not harvest specifically for the food hub until the period closes. Orders have been canceled before. Sometimes customers have issues for various reasons. They can't get to the pickup location or whatever. 6:30 in the morning comes right before the cycle closes and they'll cancel their order. They can do that. So make sure that you wait until your pick ticket comes out, or at least until the ordering cycle closes. If for some reason a customer calls us like at 8 a.m. and they're like, oh, I really wanted that 10-pound case of cucumbers, but my internet was bad, can I add it? One of us, either Rachel, myself, or Kelly, will call you or text you and ask if that's okay before we just add it to your pick ticket. We'll always check in with you if the ordering cycle has closed. All right, so if we look now at availability of products, oh, it's not showing up because I have to do some stuff on the admin side. So I apologize, not the best example, but you'll see here that it's now listed. Your availability is there for this 5/5 period. If you wanted to see what your availability was last week, you can check here. You can check by category. Let's say you're like, oh my gosh, I'm out of 10-pound case boxes. I can't do it anymore. Then there's a way that you can, remember, you can just go back to your product, click that cucumber, and hide your 10-pound case. And then when you go to your availability, you'll see right here it says hidden. That means the customer can't see it. And so let's say you sell, you know, like I said, you've run out of those 10-pound case boxes. This is a great way to quickly hide it. It's just to go to the product and hide it. If you actually are listing these items and then you're like, oh, there was a deer came and trampled them and now I don't have any for sale, you would go back here quickly and unlist the product. And it'll tell you, because the cucumber is a type A product, all units of the product will be unlisted at once. So it's not like you can't list this. You wouldn't use this example when you're trying to get rid of just the 10-pound case. You would hide it just like I showed you. But if you just decide it's not happening anymore for various reasons, then you would delete it. Again, before you delete it though, if you see your quantity sold is 1 or 3, you reach out to us first so that we can call the customer and let them know their crop was damaged. They actually don't have cucumbers. And that's basically it. That's the basics of listing on the local food marketplace. All right, Kathy, I will get that information to you. If anybody is having issues with logging in, just reach out. Kathy, I wrote myself a note. Yeah, just reach out and we can either reset your password or set you up with a new user. All right, let's see. Kelly, do you mind, because you're the admin, do you mind unmuting folks and so I can see if there's any questions? Ooh, everybody. This is a good time to sing or say nice things to anybody. No, anybody have any questions?
Anyone got any potatoes?
Seed potatoes laying around? All right.
I think you made it pretty clear. Thanks for doing this.
Okay, cool. But
Yes,
anytime, oh, you're so welcome. Anytime if you're like, I really want to do this and I'm frustrated because I can't figure it out, just reach out to us. I will give you a heads up that I have heard multiple times, this is not the easiest platform to use on your cell phone. I don't think that they have an app or anything like that. So this is kind of a desktop situation is what I've heard. Yeah. One thing I will.
Yeah, I went to go look if there was an app. There's no app.
No app. Okay. No app.
Okay.
Again, with the photos, I just can't stress it enough that accuracy is more important than like a fancy stock photo. So please just let us know. Attractive pictures do sell cases. We know that for sure. But as it's more about, again, the accuracy and the taglines. People love those little taglines. Restaurants especially really love details. So, oh, one thing I will say is you are totally welcome to list seconds. If you have seconds that are like really cricket carrots or anything like that, you're totally welcome to list them. The only thing we ask is that you write that in the tagline, that it's seconds. Because sometimes people want to list seconds a little bit cheaper. People are pumped to buy those. Maybe there's people that pickle items or want to make applesauce with your seconds. Feel free to list those.
Oh, nice.
And then if you ever have any questions, like they should still be clean and packaged properly. If you have seconds, if you have questions, like you're like, is this okay? Can I sell this thing? Just reach out to us. We're super happy to help you. And then the one thing I did not talk about, I realized, thank goodness I took notes, is auto listing. So auto listing is great for people who have a consistent inventory every week. The example that I'll use is the Mendocino Grain Project, who always has a certain type of flour until they run out, right? It's gonna be months before they run out. That has to happen on the admin side. And so we can set you up to have what's called an auto listing, and it's two different options on our end. One is auto listing from last cycle's quantities. So an example is olive oil. If we have a case of 4-gallon jugs of olive oil, we'll auto list it to last period's quantities. We sold 1, there's 3 left, 3 will list. The other one is just auto listing the same every cycle. You know you're gonna have 100 pounds of tomatoes for a month. We can auto list that for you. But the important, like, huge asterisk, asterisk, asterisk thing about that is you gotta let us know when you don't have that item anymore, because we have to be the one to take the auto listing off on our end. Otherwise, a customer might purchase something. It just takes a phone call, but it's great to be on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a great point that Kelly just wrote. Don't be shy to list the full quantity you have available for sale, because we do need some bigger volume items to fill the CSA boxes, and then especially what's something called Harvest of the Month. So those are the schools. The school does a program called Harvest of the Month where they introduce all the students to cherries or apples, and we sometimes buy like, you know, 8 to 10 plus cases for schools. So if you, this is like a super important thing I didn't say, is you only harvest what you sell. So if you have 100 pounds of tomatoes listed, but you only sold 30 pounds, you don't have to harvest that 100 pounds and then be like, how am I gonna sell these 70 pounds? You'll get your pick list and you'll just harvest what you sell. Yeah, so let me know if that makes sense to or if anybody has specific questions about that.
Anna Victoria, there is a question about packaging from She-Wolf, non-produce items at the node.
Yeah, okay, should we just jump right into packaging? I think we're done with local food marketplace.
Packaging.
All right. So again, any questions about local food marketplace anytime, please let us know. We would love for you to start listing everything. It is kind of a lot for us on the sales team to have to list for folks, and going forward, that's part of the intention of this training is that you will do all your own listing. But anytime you have questions, we're here for you. Okay, so we're gonna just jump right into packaging. Kelly, do you want to talk about produce packaging, and then we'll talk about the other, because I can't find my notes. And I know you know everything about packaging.
Sure. Well, I don't know everything about packaging. I've just observed many things about packaging. I'm going to share my screen for a second. Hold on one second. Okay. So, we have seen many different kinds of boxes pass through the food hub, especially in the COVID-19 world. We are asking people to be really careful about the packaging that you use. You can use used boxes. They do have to be produce boxes. We have seen people use Amazon boxes. We have seen people use frozen meat boxes. We actually have even seen used cannabis and CBD product boxes. All of those will cause us to reject your produce on site, and we will not deliver it in those boxes, and you will not get paid for them. Please note that especially if you deliver to the Ukiah Natural Co-op, your boxes, if you reuse used boxes, the boxes must be from previous certified organic produce. If you do not use or boxes from certified organic produce, they will automatically reject your produce as contaminated and call us, and we will have to make a special trip out there and pick up your boxes, or they'll just throw them in the dumpster. So please pay attention to that. All boxes that hold your produce or food items need to be clean and sturdy. It also needs to protect whatever is inside the box. The big thing that we're trying to do here is protect your food item from contamination from the outside. So we handle everything from lettuce to nuts to flour to goat cheese to olive oil to flowers. Who knows, someday we actually just got a call from an oyster farm up in Humboldt County. Someday we might actually have some oysters. So we need to be really careful about allergy contamination and making sure that things don't get crushed or spilled and end up in your box. So we need to just make sure things are sealed up good if you can. If you used a used box, also please use a new produce liner if possible. And appropriate for your item. If you do not have a copy of the Wholesale Success Guide from the Family Farmed, please let us know and we will email you a copy. It is the Bible that we use to help determine best ways to package items, kind of quality standards when determining market quality produce, etc. We also ask that you remove all previous labels from boxes. Anybody who's ever shipped anything knows that it's really confusing for delivery people when you have multiple labels. You know, what is actually in this box? Where is it actually going? We just need to really make it clear for our delivery people. Where is it going? When it doesn't need to be there. One of the items that's really important on our labels that you might start seeing is what's called a VIN number or lot number. That's part of our recall plan. So in case there's ever a complaint about an item, a customer can call us and say, hey, I've got this product, it's got this lot number, this VIN number, you know, then we can use that number to trace back through our system and possibly have to do a recall and pull all that product from wherever it was distributed and do a recall on that product. So that is one of the other reasons why we really encourage people to print the labels that are generated through our system. We also encourage people that have products that contain an allergen: milk, eggs, fish, nuts, wheat, soy, peanuts. you do need to put some sort of label on your box indicating that that item contains an allergen. So if you have nuts, you know, we need some way to indicate that that's an allergen, because we will need to, in 2020, start controlling for allergens because we are an FDA food facility. If anybody has any particular questions, we can go into the very specific items around packaging. But the big thing is, please use good boxes that won't be crushed and will keep your produce in good shape and of the beautiful quality that everyone expects and we know that you produce.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly. That's a really big piece, is the crushed boxes. They got to be strong. Rachel and Mark pack. We have 2 cars. We have a big box truck, and we have a Ford van refrigerated, but they sometimes are packed to the brim. So they're stacked. Sometimes you can have 5 boxes on top of yours. So make sure that the boxes are sturdy. On that note, the MendoLake Food Hub does a box order where we order pallets of boxes for farmers. We don't pay for them, obviously you do, but they're delivered to Ukiah. You can come pick them up. We just finished our box order, but we've gotten a request from quite a few people that they still want boxes. So we've decided we're going to do another box order, and I'll send some information via email. Basically, it's just going to be an order form, and there'll be some terms for picking up and payment and all that kind of stuff. Yes, Fortunate Farm, we can definitely send that to you. I can't encourage, if you don't have this wholesale success guide, it's amazing. It's so great. It's a very expensive book, but it literally has, like, you can look up parsley and it'll tell you the best harvesting techniques, best packaging techniques. It's great. So we're happy to send that to you in PDF format. Okay, so for non-produce, we have some questions. For non-produce, should we prove a plastic bag or something to protect against moisture? Sarah, this is a really specific question, so like specific to you and your coffee. So I'm going to call you after this, if that's okay. I know I owe you a phone call, I'm sorry. And I will call you specifically because this is really specific to your item. Yeah, I mean, the way that you did the last orders were great. I will just say that. But I'll call you specifically. So if anyone has specific questions about certain things that they're doing, like I know we worked with Elliot to find a procedure that worked really well for his bread. We're super happy to work with you. Just let us know. We just have to make sure that they're nice and strong and sturdy. Like Kelly said, new boxes are ideal. One thing that's kind of a bummer, that's just the reality of the COVID-19 time, is we're not taking boxes back from customers. A lot of our home delivery customers really want to like give these boxes back. Sometimes they're like fancy, you know, CSA waxed boxes, and we're just not taking them back just because Mark or Rachel would be picking them up while they're doing deliveries, and we're just trying to be as diligent as possible safety wise, and we're just at this moment not taking boxes back. So used boxes are okay. Let them sit for at least a few days. The science says that I think it's 24 or 48 hours. COVID-19 can live on cardboard. Obviously, the science is always changing and will continue to change as we learn more about this. But let it kind of do its thing for a couple of days to reduce exposure. When I mentioned the box order really quickly, it's not just boxes. We can also order you hoses, couplers. There's all sorts of stuff like liners for your produce bags. So if you want things like that, just keep an eye out for that. And I'll be sending that information very, very soon. Yeah, I think that's it on packaging. And Sarah, I will reach out to you. Does anyone else have any questions specific to packaging? Kelly just put this like really awesome, very detailed summary on the chat about food safety tips and all that. So, and if anyone's interested in oysters, reach out to me because there's a very nice guy in Humboldt that wants to sell us oysters, but it's a large quantity. So we could go in on a group order. Yes, okay. I have my own label. Should I put a number on it? Lot numbers. Any details you want to put on your labels you're very encouraged to do. The baseline things that we need are those things that I showed you when I was sharing the screen: the name of the customer, the location, box 1 of 2, etc. And the VIN numbers are automatically populated, like Kelly just said. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by lot numbers, but if you're keeping records of lot numbers according to your harvest, yeah, throw that on there. That's great. That's great. Packaging and packing basics. I guess the other thing too that is important is not only are the boxes important, but just keeping in mind like how you're actually packing boxes. That wholesale success guide has details about how to package certain things. You know, we know about tomatoes, not stacking tomatoes. I have yet, this will be my first melon season, but I've heard lore of the melon seasons and the cracked melons. So if you have any questions about specific produce, reach out to us. Again, we'll send you that wholesale success guide and it tells you how to package properly. Kelly, any last thoughts on produce? Or I'm sorry, packaging? Cool. So basically we just have a couple more things and then a Q&A, and it looks like we're gonna wrap up real early here, which is lovely. We have COVID-19 safety on the farm. I know Kelly already mentioned some of those things and we have some things to share with you as well. It says COVID-19 on the farm, but really it's for all producers and all of us. That are some very relevant and important things. And I think Kelly, did you have some screens you wanted to share for that? Or just go over that?
Yeah, I have a bunch of things actually. I have a bunch of things that I'd love to share with people. The big things with COVID-19, I'm going to do a little screen share here. Hold on one second. Where is my, oh, I can't find, hold on one second. Why is it not showing me that? Show all windows. Hold on one second. I'm trying to have too many things open. There we go. Okay. All right. COVID-19 and farmers. What should you do? The big takeaways are really basic, which is stay away from produce if you're sick. Practice social distancing between the people on your farm. Every situation is very unique. Some farms have one person, some farms have big crews. The biggest thing with COVID-19 is social distancing. Some situations allow for it and some don't. You're going to know your situation best. The third point is minimize the number of touches. So look at how and what you do on your farm and see if you can lean your processes. So how can you minimize the number of physical touches by human hand of the produce? This reduces the exposure of the produce to being coughed on. There is very little science showing that transmission via food. The biggest risk is actually via the packaging of the food, and living on packaging is a really short window of time. So we're not looking at a huge issue right there, but you do want to be aware of it. The biggest thing you can do on your farm is wash your hands. So if you do not have a hand washing station, get one. It can be as simple as having a big jug of water with some soap next to it and some paper towels, or you can have a really nice stainless steel setup. But if you have somebody besides yourself, you absolutely are required to have this for your employees. And now in the county of Mendocino, you are also required to provide face coverings for your employees as well. So some sort of mask situation as well. You also need to be cleaning, sanitizing, and drying high touch surfaces. So cleaning is different than sanitizing. Cleaning is removing dirt and particles. Sanitizing is killing bacteria, viruses, and other life forms. Most of us are good at cleaning. Most of us are not necessarily really good at sanitizing. So cleaning, we're familiar with soap and water. Sanitizing is where things like hydrogen peroxide and bleach come in. a simple bleach solution has been shown to be very effective against COVID-19. And then obviously plan for change. Things are changing rapidly. A lot of people are very optimistic that the economy is going to get going, restrictions are going to be lightening, and that we're all going to get back to work. However, we could easily see cases spike again and restrictions can come back down. So having a really diversified business plan such that you're not relying on your income all in one stream is probably a pretty good bet right now. So you won't lose it all if you're depending just on the co-op or just on schools or just on the food hub or just on the farmers market. And then I have a lot of resources that I can share with you as far as checklists of things that would be good to do on the farm, cleaning procedures, packing procedures. What should you do if you think there might be exposure among your employees? Different signage you might want to post. If you want to send us your email, I can definitely send you out copies of all these resources, but I don't think any of you really want to go into a couple hour long discussion on particulars of food safety on the farm right now. I will point out that there are a couple really good resources, so I'm going to kind of hop around with some screen shares really quickly. One of them being, we have a we have a brand new YouTube channel. We have this video from the North Coast Farmers Convergence in February, where we had the food safety specialists from CAF come up and give over an hour-long presentation on FSMA, the Food Safety Modernization Act, and what it requires of small farms and good agricultural practices. I encourage everyone, if you've got a little bit of time and want to understand these federal rules and how it might apply on your farm, to just like pop it on, take a listen. It's maybe not the most stimulating thing, but it is really important information. Also, there is another great resource. CAF is a great resource, and I'll share that with you. Show you ag. Actually, I have lots of different resources. Let's see, where's my resources? Resources. Oh, come on, I had this open. Resources for farmers. Here we go. So, so anyway, here on this document, you can see we have our YouTube channel. There's a bunch of different COVID-19 farm resources that I put together in links, as well as we mentioned we were going to talk about financial help for farmers. We've tried to put together the list of the ones that we're aware of. CAF has their own relief fund. They actually have a webinar going over the different financial aid out there, as well as their own relief fund of $1,000 to $5,000. There's also the American Farmland Trust Farmer Relief Fund of up to $1,000. And then the Farms Emergency Relief Fund of up to $500 for emergency bills of utility, medical, farm labor, equipment repair. Then there's our own MendoLake Good Farm Fund Disaster Relief Fund. You can download the one-page application from their website. You just have to give it like a brief paragraph describing your situation, why you need the funds and what you'll do with them, and then email it back over to them. It'll say probably fire relief, but it works for this current situation. California Farm Link, they have emergency loans for up to $20,000 at 0% interest. There's the Hello Alice COVID-19 Business Resource Center. This is more geared towards generic small businesses, but is available for ag. And then the U.S. Small Business Administration has the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you have employees, you might want to look into this one. If you are interested, I'd encourage you to talk to the West Business Development Center. There are small business administration. They are the organization in our county that partners with the Small Business Administration and can give you the details on how to work with the SBA and apply for one of these loans. Hopefully you saw my email earlier this week about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Emergency Advance Program. So these are forgivable loans for up to $10,000, and they've opened these back up for agriculture this week, and there are some links to more information on how to apply for these. And then there are some links for just general information about COVID-19 specific by county, state, national, and then international. So again, I will try to make sure that we email out these resources to people who need copies. Does anybody, let me go check and see if anybody has any particular questions. Let's see. Oh, yes, greens. Let me open the thing about greens. We have a specific handout just on greens because we get that question a lot. Salad greens, baby greens, or salad greens.
Yeah, so if anyone isn't on your computer, the question is if we require greens to be triple washed or washed with Sanidate. So this, Kelly's going to answer now, but this is a perfect example. You can text us these kinds of questions anytime, and we'll do our best to get you a quick answer.
Let's see. The Wholesale Success Guide says that salad greens in particular should be double washed and spin dried. There's obviously some, and actually Caroline was going to work on the procedure for 2020 this week because she had some updates that she thought we could make specifically for the food hub. Let's see. Yeah, I would say the recommendation updated recommendations will probably be coming out next week as far as greens.
All right, y'all. Maybe we could unmute everyone, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end. Wow, 3.5 hours early. That's amazing.
Wow.
We gave ourselves quite a window.
Great.
But we are available right now for Q&A. You can do this one-on-one. You can call us, email us. But if anybody has any questions that are good general questions, now's the time. If they're specific, we can do that one-on-one.
Do you, this is Irene, do you include, when you talk about salad greens, are you thinking, is spinach included in that?
I was just reading for salad mix. So like
Okay.
cut baby greens.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Oh, okay.
And my other question to everybody is, Johnny Seed dropped my potato seed order, and I'm wondering, does anybody have any potato seeds available? Seed potatoes available.
You might ask Ellen Bartholomew.
Ellen Bartholomew, do you have a number or anything?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Irene, I'll also reach out to Julia Dakin. I know she was about to put in an order for some potato seeds, so I'll see where she's getting them from.
Who is that?
Oh, yeah.
Someone on the coast.
Julia.
Or Julia, planting lots of potatoes.
Yeah,
Which we're very excited about. Potatoes are like currency right now, just saying.
Could you tell me that name on the coast, Julia?
Dakin.
What's it? Bacon?
Julia Dakin, Dakin.
Okay, got it.
I don't know where her source is though.
Yeah, but she could tell
She
me.
has just planted like an acre on the coast, and she might have some extras, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
How much are you looking for?
Just about 200 pounds, not that much. And I put my order into Johnny's in February, but it's just it's COVID transportation, and then the potatoes didn't keep, they said, and so they just dropped the order, and I'm kind of left without any potatoes.
Oh, wow.
No
Okay.
potatoes?
No potatoes.
Yeah, that's a sad day with no potatoes.
Yeah, really.
We'll see what we can do to support you, Irene.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm a new participant in the meeting.
Hi.
This is Kovalo.
Oh my gosh. Brandon, we zoomed through this training and we're at the end.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's all right.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi.
Yeah,
What's the info? What's the info on the nodes? That's my main interest.
Okay. Actually, interestingly, while this meeting was happening, I mentioned that we're like waiting on the Grange, but while this meeting was happening, I got an email that it's been approved to move to the Willits Grange, and I will send all details via email. I'm not sure that we'll have it up and running by Friday, but should happen by next week. Brandon, I'll call you because I needed to call you about something else anyway.
Oh, fine. Is that going to be the Ukiah one and the Willis one combined at the Grange?
No, the Ukiah Willits combination.
I want a conference call all day.
The Ukiah Willits combination is still in process. There's still approvals that need to happen. That's still like, you know, in our dream of dreams, 1 month, probably more like 3 to 6 months out. We're trying to find a refrigerated situation for Willits folks, and it looks like we found a temporary solution with the Willits Grange, which is exciting.
Great. Well, the Willits Grange loves farmers, so
so do we.
That works. Yep.
All right, y'all.
Well, I'll just listen if there's anything else to listen to, but
I think
maybe we'll.
Does everyone feel complete?
Yes. Thank you so much for doing this. This is wonderful.
Oh yeah, thank you. We're so tremendously grateful for you all. We know that this is like strange times, and we want to try to get your produce to as many hands as possible. And we want to just share that, like, as this meeting was happening, I just got a phone call from someone that was, I'm not exaggerating and not being dramatic, in tears about how grateful they were for receiving fresh produce to their door. So it's happening. We're going to work on getting those sales bigger, but people are really, really grateful. And actually a lot of local folks are discovering new farmers in this way. So we're just happy to support you all however we can. Just reach out.
And how are the delivery drivers holding up?
That's a great question. We need a delivery driver. Mark is amazing, but he's also only one person. So Rachel's been filling in doing deliveries, and we are looking for a delivery driver. So if you know somebody, please email us, call us, text us. We're going to go out to hire soon, but we're in need of a driver.
Do they have to have their own vehicle?
No. They will drive our vehicles.
But they have to be able to get to the nodes reliably. But
What's the pay?
They have to be able to get to Ukiah reliably, and we have a van.
15 $15 an hour, and it's 2 night shifts. So roughly 6 p.m. to midnight, and they're doing the pickup runs to get everything staged for delivery day. So it'd be Monday and Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pass it on if I hear anything.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, me too.
And it would probably be many more hours than that, but those are the 2 anchor shifts that we need covered.
Cool. Pass on the info.
All right, y'all. We'll let you. Oh, go
and
ahead.
Brandon, just so you know, one of the pieces of new information is that we are taking on a new piece of business in that we are creating, we're in the process of creating boxes to help feed people in our community. So right now we're creating boxes for Healthy Start families and seniors in our community. They're being identified through NCO. They have a COVID-19 relief fund. So right now it's about 10 to 12 families a week, and that's going to be expanding. We don't quite know. We're going after some grant money, so that could get potentially quite bigger, but we can't like announce anything until it's locked in. But
right.
we're working on that.
All right. Well, since I heard this question, great to hear that CSA is moving forward. Now, what's the charge on the boxes to how much are you looking to spend per box?
$20 in $15 to $20 in food, depending on who it is, seniors or families.
Oh, right. And then there's then you guys tack on the 15% delivery charge.
Yeah, and then we have packing, labor to pack boxes and deliver it in Lake or Mendocino, depending on where it's going.
Oh, yeah.
That's
how I started with Covelo Organic.
The person
driving around, delivering boxes.
The person that called was one of the seniors that received that box, or one of the seniors. So we're at 9 right now, but we just got another email that there's probably gonna be another 20. So that's what we mean when we're like, we might reach out to you and be like, do you have 20 extra bunches of that? It's a really exciting way to get your produce to people who really, really need it right now.
Awesome.
I won't have any produce for another month.
Right.
Just to put that out there. But you know, the way it happens, planning wise, is that we have more than enough in the surplus month.
Perfect.
Just like everyone around here.
We'll put it on the list.
No, I will when I got it. As long as I have a vehicle to drive it to Willett. So far, so good.
All right, y'all. So we'll just remind you that we're going to do another box order. There'll be a strict deadline of picking up and ordering and all that. That information will go out via email. Another reminder that is, if we don't have your paperwork by Friday, we cannot list anymore. So please reach out if you need any copies of that paperwork so we can get it to you. And we're so grateful. If you need that wholesale guide, reach out to us. If you want that list that Kelly has of the financial aid for farmers, just orders. I'll put it in there in the chat box, but it's orders@MendoLakeFoodHub.com. That's the best way to get everyone's attention. If you need help signing up for Remind, anything like that, just reach out to us. We'll let you get back to your fields, yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have
you
a great
so much, everybody.
afternoon.
Take care.
Everyone take care who's doing this good work.
Everybody.
Yeah.